Hello, and welcome to Confessions of a Terrible Leader, where real leaders share the raw truth about the lessons they learned the hard way, so you don't have to. Join our host, Layci Nelson, founder of Transcend Leadership Collective and former terrible leader. Every leader can become worthy of being followed if they are willing to put in the work. On this podcast, we share the messy stories and behind-the-scenes reality of what the work actually entails. We welcome you to this community of revolutionary leaders who believe honest communication, healthy conflict, and building cultures of acceptance, respect, and trust are not only possible, but non-negotiable for cultivating world-class teams. Hello, and welcome back to Confessions of a Terrible Leader. I'm your host and former terrible leader, Layci Nelson. And today we are switching it up, switching seats. I'm actually going to be in the hot seat today. And Mary Scott, our amazing producer, I'm going to cede the floor to you as you take over and run this interview today.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Layci. I am very excited. I had to kind of arm wrestle. No, that's not true. Layci wholeheartedly agreed. For me to interview her, we're switching things up today. As Layci said, we're doing a little bit of a lightning round Q&A, kind of trying it out. I thought it would be fun to switch things up. So today, Layci, I have 3 questions for you.
Ooh.
Yes. So the first one, what trends are you seeing in leadership these days? I know part of your commitment to being a great leader is to always be on top of your research, studying up on new trends, and reading your books, following the great leaders of the day. So in your observation, what new trends in leadership have you been seeing lately?
Yes. Well, I will say it is a new challenge to leadership that I've been seeing lately.
Mm-hmm.
Gen Z, of course, every new generation rocks the boat, right? So Gen Z is really coming in strong to the workforce now, and they are doing their job. They are rocking the boat. And they're millennial managers, and above, every generation above, Gen X, boomers, they are really throwing them for a loop because there is this new dynamic at play where these younger generations coming in, they are coming in with a higher level of emotional acuity. They're more flexible. They're able to and want to just directly speak about challenges or conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have, and I'm speaking generalistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Generally,
Sure.
There's, of course, they're not a monolith. Everybody's an individual, but we're seeing trends.
Mm-hmm.
And what is trending also is this idea from millennial managers and above, especially above, that these younger workers, they won't do anything beyond their job description. They're quiet quitting, or they're just, I think we've heard the phrase like lazy girl jobs, where you just show up and punch the clock.
Right.
And there is some truth to that. So part of the trending is younger generations don't want to do work they're not getting compensated for.
Right.
And there is a little bit of the, I want to say to the employers, when we're offering minimal wages to do exceptionally, like here's $5,000 more a year to do 10 times more work.
Right.
They're figuring that out.
Right.
And they're like, no, thank you. The thing that's happening is that there is the opportunity for side hustles like there never was before the existence of where we're at today in the world.
Right.
So if people want to drive Uber and make a little bit of extra money on their own time, or they want to figure out how to, sell healthy meals to people outside of their regular work hours and set up a little hustle on Instagram and get that going, they can do it. And also, our healthcare is no longer tied to employment like it used to be.
Oh, yes.
And so people have options that we didn't have when we were younger or when we were in their shoes. And so now we're seeing the repercussions of, honestly, I think it's going to continue to separate the good leaders from the great leaders as far as what talent they can attract and retain, because the younger people have no patience for a leader that can't engage, motivate, and inspire them.
Yeah.
If they don't have the emotional bandwidth to hang and the capacity to have conversations, they're going to move on.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to move on pretty quick.
Sure.
2 years is considered the average tenure in a workplace now.
Wow.
2 years. You know how expensive that is? You don't even figure out a job till the first year.
Oh, no. Right. Wow, that's amazing. Wow. I've heard you speak some about Gen Z before, but a deeper dive into that is it's definitely a bit of an eye-opener. in the workplace. So, well, thank you for answering that question, Layci.
Yes.
So we're going to move on to question number 2. And this one is a little bit more of a spicy take, a little bit of a deeper question. You may have heard the phrase leading for the most mature. And this can happen in all industries. You often see this in government, politics, church leadership, family-run businesses. We see this in a lot of different instances. But for an example, if there's a particular employee that is continuously filing a safety complaint, which has to be investigated.
Yep.
But this particular employee is constantly filing these safety complaints because it is a distraction from their lack of productivity. And there's some deeper issue at hand. What would you say to an organization who has to handle a, quote, squeaky wheel whose complaints may or may not be legitimate, but still have to be addressed?
Right. And you can't just say, oh, I'm going to get rid of that person. They're a problem.
Right.
For a lot of reasons. One being that's a really great invitation for a lawsuit when you've got that going on.
You don't say.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to ask is for the leadership to reflect on where and when have you given this person an opportunity to actually have a conversation with you or with someone who has decision-making authority and really gone into the collaborative problem solving, because they're not having some need met. They're feeling ignored. They're feeling like they're whatever avenue they've tried. What I'm trying to say is they likely didn't just start by going to file a safety complaint.
Sure.
I'm guessing there is likely somewhere where the relationship with the organization or with their supervisor just went off the rails. And so it's looking for, there's been a broken trust somewhere with this person. They have, for some reason, they don't feel, whatever the reason, let's not assign blame. We'll dissect that later. For whatever the reason, okay, there's a lack of trust. They've decided the way to have their voice heard is to file this complaint again and again and again. And it may be you truly are feeling like, oh, their fear is they're just not doing their job and they are wanting to cause a distraction. And this is a method to keep themselves from getting fired. And all of those things can be true.
Yes.
While at the same time, they're still really not feeling like they've had their voice heard, or you have not been clear from the beginning with what your expectations and benchmarks are that you need to see from them, regardless of what is happening with blame shifting, which this really could be a form of blame shifting. One of the quickest ways to reestablish or get things back on track when blame shifting is starting is acknowledging and saying, I hear that this is a concern for you, and this doesn't affect your job in X, Y, and Z ways. So let's talk about how X, Y, and Z ways, which you have full control over, are not meeting the mark.
Yeah.
And so you have to really keep it about recenter the conversation to what are the things that are within their control.
Yes.
And inviting them into a collaborative problem solving, inviting them into, all right, I hear that this is a frustration for you. And this is where you start, right? This is like often what gets missed. We don't do this step. We just go straight into corrective action, and then people get angry and things start going sideways. The very first time you started to see there be an issue or blame shifting, or maybe it's low productivity, are you inviting that person in to help solve the problem? And so what I mean by that is, are you saying to them, hey, Doug, I've got a challenge and I'd like you, I think you can help us figure out, I'd love to have you help me problem solve this, because it's around the work that you're doing. And I think you're the one that actually can turn this around. So help me problem solve this. Now, that may be the beginning of a great conversation and it goes beautifully and that's it. Or it may not go that way. But oftentimes that doesn't even happen. And so the first conversation this person hears is, you're not happy with me. And then they're going to go into self-defense mode and start blame shifting. And oh, well, it's not happening because this and this and this is broken. And that's a safety concern. I'm going to take, and so they go, they're not even able to hear you at that point.
Yeah.
And you didn't even give them an opportunity to be part of coming up with a solution. You just immediately launched into what was broken.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like a small thing, but it can make so much difference.
Yeah.
And so it's owning, like, where did I go off the rails with this?
Yeah.
And where could I have in the future, what am I going to learn from this?
Sure.
And then with that employee, it's owning the part that you needed to own. Maybe you need to say, you know what? You did not feel heard on this. And I did not make you feel like what you had to say mattered. So I'm going to own that.
Yeah.
And I want to talk with you about how can we move forward from this? And if they try to keep blame shifting, you can bring it back, right?
Sure.
But just owning your part can do a lot to reestablish trust.
Yeah. A lot of creative collaboration, an extending of the hand, really. And can we collaborate on this issue in an attempt to really get to the root cause?
Yeah. And it might end up that person and that relationship is just, it's not salvageable.
Sure.
You may end up having to let that person go because they're not able to meet benchmarks. Mm-hmm. But then if you do it the appropriate way, you A, give them a chance to meet the benchmarks, and B, it becomes very evident. And of course, your HR people will be like, document, that it wasn't the safety complaints that were the problem.
Right. Yeah. Oh, thank you for answering that. That's, like I said, it's a bit of a spicy one. I think that's something that could resonate with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of learning to say that when we go in and we teach workshops and we do all these things that we do with organizations, helping people understand you can have someone that's doing something that's completely unacceptable and hold them accountable and take your own ownership for the part you're accountable for. Yes. And it doesn't mean owning the part and taking extreme ownership doesn't mean there isn't also accountability attached to the other party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just you owning the part that's yours to own, and you're the leader, so you get to go first.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. All right. Now for our last question of our Q&A. Layci, can you tell me a little bit about some upcoming events for Transcend Leadership Collective this summer and something coming up in the fall as well? Can you just speak to that a bit?
Absolutely. So we will be having our last public available workshop until the fall. We know we like to get that. We're going to slide one in there in June, and it's going to be handling tension and conflict in the workplace. Ooh. How do you navigate that? And how do you do it in a way where you're not completely walking around in like misery and dread? And so that is one of our most popular ones that we've taught in the past, and we're going to actually offer it again. And that will be available. We will be getting the dates out for that soon. We can put a link in the show notes to our events page. People can check it out there. And if it's not up yet, just keep an eye out, but you'll know where to go. And that will be happening. And then we also public workshops just means anyone can take it. So we also go in and custom design workshops all year long for organizations. This is just anyone who wants to sign up can sign up for it. If you want to come see what we're all about, it's a great way to do that. Now, for the fall, what are we doing? We're getting towards wrapping up our very first run of what we have titled the lift, as in a lift up the mountain. If you know much about our model. Faster than walking yourself up there. And what the lift is all about is it is an intensive designed specifically for emerging leaders. So that leader that's in the, I want to lead a team up to about 5 to 6 years of experience. This is made for you. This is designed to fast track the learning process, the skills that you're going to need. So it's a mix of both soft skills and hard skills of understanding how to navigate first yourself, then a team, then the business at large from that leadership seat, and really prepare you to be able to handle so many situations I wish I would have been prepared for. This intensive, it's not just one workshop, but this intensive was designed after hearing so many people that we would go in and teach a lot of these leadership and communication workshops to say, I wish I would have had this when I was starting out. This would have been so helpful. Mm-hmm. I wish I would have had this. So we took a compilation over the years of those elements, as well as looking at research and trending and all the things, and designed what now we are very proud of. The first group is almost ready. They're finishing up soon. And then we'll run the second group in the fall. So you can get on the wait list for that now. And it is 100% virtual. So you can be anywhere in the world and experience this workshop. It is available. There's live sessions as well as some at your own pace. It's not homework heavy. The only homework we ask anyone to do in this thing is if it's directly applicable to to your real work. It's like, take your real work. You need to get a real challenge, and it's going to help your job become easier, not add an extra stress.
Right. No busy work.
No busy work.
Immediately able to implement it in what you actually do.
Yes. Yes.
Imagine that. That all sounds so great. And I know those are things that we are really looking forward to, reaching out and connecting within our community and virtually as well. So both options are out there.
Yes.
Layci, I have really enjoyed this Q&A with you. Thank you so much for answering my questions. And by the way, listeners, we do have a voicemail option available. If you click on our show descriptions and you just scroll down, no matter what platform you're in, Spotify, Apple, just scroll down and you'll see an option to leave a voice message for the podcast. We would love to start compiling some questions for a future Q&A episode that are your questions. I'm not 100% sure when we will air that, but we are going to start compiling your questions. So if you'd like to leave a leadership coach a question to be answered on air, please leave us a voicemail and we'd love to put that together for you. Layci, I'm going to hand it off to you to close us out.
All right. Well, this was fun. I like getting the tables turned.
Yes.
Thank you, Mary, for putting this together. Thank you, listeners, for engaging us in our new Q&A here. And I'm looking forward to doing it again in the future. And until next time, my friends, go manage like a leader.
Thanks for being part of this community of revolutionary leaders who believe honest communication, healthy conflict, and building cultures of acceptance, respect, and trust are not only possible, but non-negotiable for cultivating world-class teams. If one-to-one coaching, engaging workshops, or strategic planning that is actually useful are anything that interests you, make sure to head over to transcendleadershipcollective.com to check out our free resources. Confessions of a Terrible Leader is hosted by Layci Nelson and produced by Mary Scott. Music is by Leif Olson and Mary Scott from the band The Number of Months. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave us a review. And until next time, go manage like a leader.